Hello and welcome to episode 3. I don't know if I should be excited or honoured that we've got to episode 3, but here we are. And we've got our very first special guest, Karis.
Woo.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you. I feel so
Karis.
honoured to be the first special. A lot of people must have said no before you got to me to be the first guest.
Anyway, moving swiftly on. No, thank you so much for coming on. I think it'd be really interesting to get your opinion, your insights, and just join the tomfoolery, really.
Yeah, no, I'm excited.
Good. So, just in case anybody doesn't know you, I'm sure that's not the case, but can you just give us a bit of a quick intro as to who you are and which Karis you are and all those things?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Karis Copp, and I'm the managing director of Karis Copp Media, which is a PR and communications agency specializing in the print industry. And yeah, I started out in print on the journalism side. I trained as a journalist and then was an editor at Print Monthly and Signlink. And yeah, went from there to some freelance journalism, writing, content production, and PR, and have kind of evolved all that into where we are today.
Nice, good stuff. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
I was going to just ask Karis about that transition you talk about from being a journalist to being a PR. How was that for you?
Yeah, really good actually. I think it was kind of it wasn't something that I set out to move from journalism to PR. It just sort of happened. You know how it is in this industry when everybody knows each other and you end up having these great opportunities. But I think from going from trade journalism to the PR side was great because I already had so much experience working closely with the businesses themselves. So it's kind of a natural progression to go to the communication side and just work more closely with them and get really kind of under the skin of what they do and help them tell those stories. So there's a lot of similarities, a lot of crossover opportunities, and yeah, I just think it's a better fit for me and what I want to do.
So remarkably similar. They are remarkably similar. Obviously, they're quite symbiotic industries, but also I think in our sector, there's a lot more companies to do PR for than there are publications. So it kind of makes sense in that direction. I, of course, have gone the other way, which is completely mad. Anyway,
I was going to say it sounds like the wise old owl there, Jack, the veteran, industry veteran, as we've all been called, apart from you, Karis, obviously. Nothing veteran about you at all. I'm
already being called old Karis now that I have a new Karis joining, so I'm trying to phase that out as well. So maybe veteran will be next.
We definitely need a list of descriptions to separate the two Karises.
Because don't you share the same birthday as well?
We do share the same birthday, not the same year. I've got a few years on her, but yeah, 13th of January. If you want to send cards to our office,
I'm sure all our adorning listeners and fans will be sending you some stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
I hope so. I respect it now that I've told you all the date.
Absolutely. So welcome anyway. And we'd love to get your thoughts and opinions on everything that we're going to discuss. But we kind of always kick off with a little bit of a round robin of how your month's been, really. Warts and all, honesty. So yeah, let's go with Andy first. How's your month been?
It's been a strange one. Football-wise, very stressful.
Sorry, you're breaking up there. Business only, thank you.
I thought you'd say something like that. 2 very dodgy red cards for Arsenal. One with Brighton, one with Man City. Which
stupidity, I think, if you ask me.
I think it was overzealous refereeing. And then in between that, I had a holiday with the missus. So we had a wedding to go to. Both, I think, had COVID or the worst form of man flu ever. And then went to Turkey for 10 nights. It's really nice. Didn't talk about work, didn't think about work. Was lovely just to disconnect for a little while, actually. And I did really, really need it. So I've come back and raring to go, which is quite nice. No, just 850 emails to catch up with. So I'm still on the 3rd day in. I'm still trying to catch up and do my to-do list, but we're getting there.
A man in demand.
To you know why.
That's fair, yeah.
Well, thank you for gracing us with your presence again.
You're welcome.
Karis, what about you? How's your month been?
Month been okay. It's been
Jet lagged.
Place. Yeah, it's been good. We have Printing United in the US, so I was over there for quite a while, which is fantastic because it mixed a bit of business and pleasure, which is what I try and do now. If you go to events overseas, it used to be, you get to the airport and then you're in a box room or a convention center, and then you're home and people are like, "Oh, how was Barcelona?" And you have to say, "Oh, I don't know." It could have been
I'm sure it was
anywhere.
lovely.
Yeah. So now we try and do a bit more, even if it's just a couple of days tacked on at the beginning or at the end doing stuff. So this time we did the Grand Canyon. So we drove up to the Grand Canyon and then from there to Las Vegas for the event. So that was amazing. And then the event was, full on, but really, really fun. Came back, went straight, basically Heathrow, home, sleep, and then to Birmingham for the print show. And so I'm still kind of trying to catch up on things, and it's been a bit of a whirlwind, but it's been great. It's been a really great.
Social battery's low, and jet lag is all over the show.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Question for you, Ken. So obviously you've done a few of these US exhibitions, and you get a lot of people saying that they are very different from here in UK and Europe. What do you think of that? What are the sort of big differences?
Yeah, I think there's a few differences. I think especially when you take something like Printing United, where they have, every other year it's in Las Vegas, which just has its own, really specific energy, a great buzz. There's something a bit more kind of enthusiastic, I think, about just the US approach in general. So that lends itself really well to something like an event, a trade show, because it's just, you want it to be, when you've gone to an event and it kind of feels a bit, dead or negative, just not that the vibe isn't there. You can kind of really sense it, when you go in and you go to these events, and it's just such an incredible energy, which I know is quite, vague, but that's just the only way to describe it. I think they're a bit more enthusiastic about things, a bit more exciting, a bit more of an energy around them, I would say.
I feel like you described Britain and America perfectly well there.
Yeah.
Very British and very American.
How did you guys find the print show this year, though? Because you all attended. I was on the beach at the time.
Yeah,
I knew where I would rather be, and that's networking at the print show in the NEC.
Exactly.
Obviously.
Silly. I thought I loved it. I thought it was really good. I'm a little bit of a socialite, as we all know. So it was a great opportunity for me to get hold of people and speak to people and meet them informally, in a bit of a kind of relaxed environment. A lot of my work is done over the phone as well, so it's always nice to have that human interaction when you are kind of actually physically sat in front of someone. So no, I loved it. I was at the gala party as well. So no, it was good. A good couple of days, and I think the general kind of reception and the feedback has been phenomenal as well. So I think they've done a great job.
I was just going to say, I've been to, because I've done PR in different industries. Outside of print, sort of computing and cameras and so on. It's a very different vibe at printing exhibitions. There is somehow a little bit more of almost like a family sort of feel to things. People kind of do get on with each other a lot better.
No, I agree, and that'll bring us on to one of the kind of topics that we're going to discuss in a little while, all about collaboration and the industry as a whole. But yeah, how did you find it in terms of like a direct relation and correlation to Printing United? Obviously, totally different scales and stuff like that, but you've been to a fair few print shows in the past as well.
Yeah, no, yeah, I mean, yeah, completely different, I think, in terms of the scale of something like Printing United and the print show. But I think they've done a great job. I was there at the first one that they did, a long time ago, and just to see it now is amazing. New people coming on board, showing new things, which hasn't always been the case with smaller shows in the past, that you can actually go there and see kind of those new things. I think there were some great examples of, I think EPS, for example, did a great job of showing, end to end, which I think could be difficult at a trade show, to show that it's, what's the software, the printing, the cutting, and then you get a cocktail at the end. I thought that was great. some great stands. So nice to see people. I think as well from a media relations perspective, it's an opportunity for me to catch up with the press, which is so crucial to what we do. Like Jack and Jack's colleagues in the trade media. I went along with my colleague Kerry as well, who hadn't met some of our clients before or some of the media before. So that's crucial, I think, is having that face-to-face opportunity to chat with people, especially when so many of us are remote. So I had a great time. I was only there the second day and third day, and even that really wasn't enough time because it was so much time catching up with people. And I could have done with coming on that first day as well if I wasn't extremely jet lagged. So yeah, I've had a fantastic time.
No, good. So yeah, how was your month in overall, Jack? I know you've been here, there, and everywhere, and you were very busy at the print show, weren't you?
I was, yeah. Loads and loads of interviews. It's such a great opportunity to do that sort of thing as well, and see that, because you can get the images of the kit as well and everything running, which was great. To be honest, anything before the print show I could barely remember, to be honest, but it has been a pretty full-on month. Got another event next week, but I'm going to be on holiday, so that's all right. So it's Rap Fest. And do you do Rap Fest? Anyone else here?
Yeah, we're going this year. We're going with Carla.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're partnering with Carla. So my colleague Ron is attending this year. I did last year with Epson. Ron's doing this year with Carla. So it'll be interesting to see how it develops actually from last year, because that was the first one concept. So looking forward to hearing the feedback on that one.
Good stuff.
Interesting. No, I've never been, and I'm not going to this one, unfortunately. But I've heard really, really good things about it. I think most Vespa events or Vespa backed events are phenomenal, aren't they? Susie does a great job, and team obviously.
It's a good event, Rapfest. It's adrenaline fueled, I find. There's lots of fast cars in general. They put last year they promised a sort of a trip round the track, and you get on this bus and it kind of dawdles around, which was quite good fun. But you just thought, oh come on, you go a little bit faster.
You're not going to get anywhere near the top of the leaderboard on Top Gear with that, then, are you?
No, quite.
Right. Okay. So let's crack on. Really, let's talk about this month's episode. I guess is going to be all about how we differentiate ourselves, what our point of differences are, as we're all business owners as well, and all service providers into the industry. So it'd be good to kind of discuss that. Then we're going to look at business coaching, and as business owners, how did we kind of materialize our businesses, and how do we do that on an ongoing basis? Collaboration, and then we always like to kind of make it a little bit personal at the end, and we've got a section on unsung heroes, or what our kind of personal motivations are. So let's go with point of difference. And how do you differentiate yourself, Karis, from everybody else that does what you do?
Yeah, it's I think it's not a huge conscious thing that I really think about. I think that's something that might be clear with a lot of my responses, is that a lot of it is just kind of, authenticity, I think, in terms of, no one else, I think, has had my journey in the industry and evolved what they're doing, like I am. So I have that unique perspective. I, love what I do. I love getting to explore what companies I work with are all about and what they want to communicate and how they want to communicate it. And it's quite instinctive, I think, for me. And I haven't had that traditional, spending years working my way up a kind of traditional hierarchical PR agency. And, that in a way is a strength. I don't mean that disparagingly against anyone who has had that path. I just think it's good to point out that there's different paths than what we're told is the kind of the only path into getting to a position where you're running an agency like I am, even though it's not a huge agency, it's a growing business, and we're always looking at what we're doing. And I think part of it is that I know a lot of people. I've got my own way of being, and I kind of shied away from that for a bit because I thought I should be more like these people who have done this a traditional way, and I'm kind of doing myself a disservice. But I'm sort of leaning into now just who I am and what I do, and putting stuff out there that I want to.
I'm very similar when it comes to recruitment, because you're kind of almost taught a vertical or a certain way to interact and act, and it's not until you end up running your own business that you're like, no, actually, if I'm true to myself, then I'm going to attract the right type of customers, and then it's less transactional, more enjoyable, and everybody wins because then they're getting the true Karis, right?
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think you're right. I think part of it was a bit of a, fake it till you make it thing with me, where I was thinking like, well, I want to be taken seriously as this an agency, a PR and communications agency in print, and I spent a lot of time as a journalist and as a freelancer, so I kind of thought, well, I want people to maybe not think of me as that anymore. I want them to think of it more of the business side, and that led me to kind of maybe shy away from some of the things that I think are great for me, and I'm talking specifically about me rather than the business now. But I think
of course,
part of that now is, why not just lean into what makes you kind of unique, and that's what I'm trying to do now. So that's my take on point of differentiation. I think as well, I think something else just that we do that I think makes us special is having that global perspective that I think a lot of people maybe don't have. I'm lucky to work with companies all over the world, work with companies in the US, and spend a lot of time there. So I think that's something that that I think I hadn't thought about much until I was having a conversation with someone about it recently. But that is something that I think makes us stand out a bit as well.
Yeah, because you could become quite insular in terms of just the UK market and the kind of operating with much smaller SME type businesses, but that kind of global exposure is must be kind of purely exciting for you as well, to have that kind of big scope.
Yeah, really, really is. And I think, it's a global industry, isn't it? We've got, the manufacturers all over the world, and European and UK divisions of those. The way it works is really a global industry, and that's something that I love. I love tracking from a personal and professional perspective, seeing how different people work and how things work in different segments and different geographies. So yeah, I think that's something that's really exciting. And on the topic that we talk about a lot of getting younger people into the industry, I think that's something that we don't make enough of. There's so much opportunity to travel and experience things that otherwise you wouldn't get to when you're kind of, in your early 20s. You get to go to all these amazing places and you see some incredible things. So yeah, I think I'm really, really grateful that that's something that this industry offers.
Do you find you compete with other PR agencies at all?
I think this is, again, my naivety that I'm when I think about these things that I don't necessarily think about. I guess to a certain extent we must be. We're working with clients that otherwise would have PR requirements that they would go elsewhere for. So I'm sure that there's, that element of competition. I don't necessarily think of it that way. Maybe one day I will, and it's a bit of a different path. At the moment, I'm not kind of, bidding for work and pitching for work in the way that perhaps I was part of when I was part of a different, more traditional PR background. But I think I actually just have a huge amount of respect for the other agencies that specialize in our industry, and know a lot of the people that work there or have worked there, and a lot of them are really, really kind enough to, speak frankly about their work, or offer advice, or just have a chat and catch up. So I'm really grateful to those businesses, but I don't consciously think that we're competing. We're just doing what we're doing, and maybe that'll evolve one day. But yeah, I suppose I must be, but not in my head. In my head, I'm just doing what I do.
I can relate massively to that, because obviously recruitment's hugely competitive, and fundamentally people want to get the best people as soon as possible. But the way that I try and kind of differentiate us against all the others as well is it's just humanizing that process, and a bit of no nonsense. I don't know if I can, and a no bullshit approach. I know we've already gone the explicit route on YouTube, Jack, so we should be okay. Don't shout at me for that. But
you're fine. We expect it these days.
Yes. So yeah, for me, it's just if your expectations are unrealistic in terms of the salary for, I don't know, an account director, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to waste your time and go away for a week and come back and go, oh yeah, you're paying 15 grand less. If the kind of wider package isn't right or your onboarding process isn't right, I'm going to tell you because I don't want to waste my time. And I feel like if you're not kind of in control of the business, then you're almost kind of shoehorned into acting and talking to people in the way that the other business wants to, and you don't have that freedom. So yeah, for me, it's just that kind of humanizing, having empathy, and that kind of whittles out who it is that you kind of end up connecting with and connecting to. So I fully appreciate that, and I get that.
I think, sorry, I think recruitment and PR, I've said this before, are so similar in many ways. You essentially work for your clients, but if you say a journalist is equivalent from your sense in a candidate, they could be, you have to kind of build those relationships in a very different way that you have with the art of PR is to create the relationship between the client and the journalist. You kind of almost want to be able to step out of the way and let them communicate positively with each other, which is kind of what you're doing as well. And it takes a certain character to be able to do that. It's not for everybody, certainly. And how you do that is how you run your business. And it's quite hard to train. That is experience. It is the way you are. So
it really is quite similar, actually. With that explanation, I don't think I ever realised it until what you were saying there, Karis, and then obviously kind of synopsised by synopsist, kind of recapped by Jack. There you go. Yeah. But no, I can imagine it. I can imagine it kind of working out pretty well.
Yeah, I think recruitment it sounds absolutely terrifying to me. So I think there are similarities, but it's definitely that would be too much for me.
I'm going to work for Matt for a couple of weeks one day.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
Oh my gosh,
it'll be fun. Why not?
Don't do it.
You're not coming back on.
Wow. No, please.
Anyway, Andy, what about you? Because yours is super competitive as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it is very. And we can all just, go down to, £200 margin on a 20 grand box, and someone come in £5 cheaper on that, and we're all just going lower and lower and lower. So one of the things we do is it's support and service. That's what we pride ourselves on. Someone buys a printer from us, we're not just going to chuck it in, get you trained, that's it, we're done. It's all about following up, making sure everything's okay, those phone calls to check in. Do you need any more support? Do you need any more training? Any difficulties, anything like that? And then also, if we've just got customers that buy ink from us, we also support them on their printer side as well. So if you buy a lot of ink from us, there's a problem with the printer, the rip, then we will do our best to support you best we can. There'll be times when we do have to charge for that, but most of the time we try and fix things over the telephone and offer support, remote logins. So it's all those kind of additional things that we do. Our engineers aren't out all the time. It would be nice if they were out a little bit more, but if we've got capacity, we'll support the customer. And the other thing we do is that we do disaster recovery. For our customers only. So we don't commercially look for the work, but if a customer of ours has a printer from us that goes down, it does happen, or they've taken on a job that's too big or something that they don't have, like a clear self-adhesive vinyl roll, and we'll take that job on and send it out plain label, so it kind of keeps their business ticking over. It also works quite nicely for us because we can see how much they're not doing on their printer by sending to us, and then we can advise them on the next printer from there. And also the fact that because we're a small company, there's only 10 of us, people get access to me and the other directors as well. So it's a nice touch that they're with the decision makers.
What about the good point of differences?
Thanks, mate.
You're welcome.
I like to think working with me is a good point, but
absolutely
otherwise. But yeah, you buy a printer from me, you've got access to me, even if it was through my colleague Ron or Jess, then they've still got access to me and the other director as well. So it's kind of worked. It has worked. Something my dad instilled into me when he was working in the business, and something we wanted to continue.
It's good.
A business like yours, which is so competitive, adding value is the key thing, isn't it? All those things you've listed there are adding value to what you can offer to your customers in a way that us service people don't have to think about quite so much, because it's kind of what we're doing.
Yeah, otherwise we'd be selling lots and lots of printers for very little margin and still not making enough money. So we have to say, no, this is our sticking point, and we're going to be this price because, and listing all those points that we've already addressed. So yeah, it's getting more competitive every year. It's becoming more competitive, and obviously the internet is not helping that. There are some what we call box shifters online. They're very good at what they do, very good businesses. But when you're trying to add value and it's a very easy product, like a plotter perhaps, then it's hard to add that value sometimes.
Yeah, and it's trying to kind of educate that at that point of kind of purchase. If it's just a straight online transaction, then it's now impossible to do that, isn't it?
Yeah.
If only you had a good storyteller, eh, Jack?
If only. Just also talking about, you mentioned young people, and certainly for PR and promotion, PR always used to be about taking journalists out to lunch and getting into a newspaper, ostensibly. Now it's a very different beast because of social media, which, best will in the world, is still better understood by young people because they've grown up with the complexities of it. So I definitely think anyone looking to either employ an agency or somebody internally to do some of their marketing should definitely be looking down that road, and particularly as there are plenty of qualifications in that area for people. So I think that's a route I think we should all be going in.
No, absolutely. And what about your point of difference, Jack? Because I guess yours is a bit of a scramble to the story first, is it?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously we receive, as I've now discovered, lots and lots of stories. All those press releases that I used to write that now come from lots of people like Karis. It's really important for what we're doing, particularly as an online publication, to not just reproduce that story and in word for word, because otherwise it just becomes an amorphous blob of the same story, which the PR person's quite happy with, or the client's quite happy with. But from our point of view, you want to be different. You want to be adding something else. So yes, you want to. It absolutely is. The first person to get to the story gets the sort of SEO element of it. But if you get too bogged down on that side of things, I mean, the constant thing I'm trying to come up with is how to be entertaining. I mean, it's, people read things mostly to be informed, but that is still a form of entertainment. You're doing this for your pleasure in a way. You wouldn't necessarily read or listen to something just because you have to. So I understand people want to stay informed. There are plenty of ways of doing that, but they also finding ways to make things interesting. And I have to say, the vast majority of the press releases that come in, just by their very nature, tend to not be very interesting. Because
apart from mine, apart from the weekend.
I mean, it's great that people are attending shows, but we don't really need a press release saying we're attending a show and doing such and such, because it's just not really very interesting. So how do you get to the bottom of those stories? And that's really my job. I'm kind of learning all the time on how to do this, and talk later about influences. I'm trying to start to get to a point where I'm trying to just make it a bit more intuitive, a bit more interesting, a bit easier to read through something in order to get the information you need.
And how are you finding it with the kind of world of social media and the time that people have to sit there and read an online publication or an online kind of story compared to like little video snippets and all that type of stuff? Is that an issue? Is it quite a refreshing change to still have that kind of written format and word?
I think, I have no idea. I mean, you have to ask the people that are reading stuff. It's very hard to know what people do. You get likes and shares, but you don't even know if they've read that article. They might just see their name or their company name or a company they like or a picture they like. I mean, you get far more likes for doing a little selfie to say, I've rocked up outside some company, I'm going to do a report on them. Get a lot more likes for that than you do for the actual story that you write a few days later, which I kind of get. Videos, again, brilliant. I mean, they're quite nice to do. You can get them in, get them up quite quickly. I think it's a better way of getting information across for people that are just sort of sitting around with nothing else to do because they like scrolling that way. In the old days, a magazine, I bet people still really take a lot of their news in just by sitting down, see a magazine if you've got nothing better and flick through it. But most of the times now it's on your phone, and you've got to kind of find a way of getting people to stop and look at what you're writing there.
Yeah.
Please tell me, I'd love to know.
No, we would maybe it's not directly related, but like it's obviously not Christmas isn't that far away, and obviously
Oh,
with
I
three
can't believe you
kids,
said the C word.
I'm sorry, but there is a method in terms of why I'm talking about it. But like the kids the other night after dinner, we sat down and we had the Smith's Toy Superstore like catalog, like an actual physical like paper thing, and they all had a different coloured marker, and they were circling exactly what they wanted, and you just can't get that tactile stuff, can you, from a screen, a tablet, a TV ad, or whatever. So
Save to wish list.
It kind of relates. Yeah, it's just that pure excitement that they see from actually seeing it in a magazine or something like that. So
The
I don't know
M&S
about the
Christmas.
Argos catalogue.
Ah,
yeah,
That's
certain
is
fantastic.
there
pages.
even one? Is there still one? They still do a Argos catalogue?
No, I
bet
don't think they do anymore.
Oh,
All online.
sad time.
Madness.
My researcher is in the background saying they don't anymore. No.
Well, that might move us on kind of pretty nicely to the next point, which is kind of business coaching. So we all do what we do in a way, but we do have to diversify and look for different ways to offer the services and add value and all that type of stuff. So, do you have any experience on business coaching? I'm sure Colin Sinclair McDermott will be listening, or if he's not, then shame on him. We'll unplug his name, but I've had a number of sessions with Colin, and he's been fantastic in terms of just that external view on your business. From a recruitment perspective, M2 has a business partner as well called Hilton Lord, and they do all my back office stuff for me in terms of chasing invoices. Hi, Andy. And building my website and my CRM and kind of access to kind of other functions and services, leaving me to just go ahead and run my business and do the recruitment aspect. So I can't even tell you the value that they bring to me. But what about you guys? Do you have any experience in business coaching and kind of getting that external help?
Yeah.
No,
I
not for me.
have had some sessions with Colin. I'll come to them in a moment. But I've got a couple of friends who are coaches, business coaches in other sectors, and they are really smart because in a period of 4 or 5 questions, without really knowing what it is you do, they get you to come up with the answers for how to improve your business by saying it yourself, by asking you those questions. Because we kind of all know what we need to do. We know we've got to do our social media properly. We've got to keep on top of things to do, keep on top of all those businessy. But you know that you've got to do that. But you find 1,000,001 excuses not to. And one of the things certainly Colin was great at is just sort of saying, well, you just do it, get on with it. And I think as much as anything, that's the secret to good coaching, to really pull out of your head what it is you know are the most important things and how you need to do them.
Again, humanizing, simplifying the process, and it's almost the effects of what effect on your business will this have if you don't do it. Yeah, you're putting it off and kicking the can down the road, but if you don't do it, then this is going to happen. But if you do it, then this is going to happen. So yeah, similar experience.
I haven't done business coaching before, but I imagine a lot of it's accountability, isn't it? I found that when I was getting married, just before, I think about 18 months, I had, I'm going somewhere good with this, don't worry. I had an online fitness coach who did all my nutrition, all my plans, everything like that. And I had to make sure that every week when I did the check-in, that I was where I should be. I've lost a little bit of weight. I've gained some muscle, all those kind of things. As soon as I stopped paying for that service, this basically has happened. Put on 2 stone and gone from 10 to 12 stone. So I think that's probably quite good to have a business coach that keeps you accountable to everything in your business and lifts up, what you're doing, which you should be doing.
A certain size that you have to get into.
Yes, which I can no longer get into.
Either that, or you'll very quickly have an ex-wife as well.
That's it.
That wedding would never happen. What about you, Karis?
Yeah, I mean, I have a great business coach, so shout out to Jo. She's amazing. And I think to look back on when I first started working with her to now is really kind of like night and day, really. I think one of the things that I found with it when I first started looking into it, it was because I really wanted to evolve into a proper agency with a team, and that we could grow. That's really something that's an ambition of mine for the business. I didn't want it to be just me forever. There's a lot I want to do that would involve growing, and if you're going to do that, you kind of have to have a handle on the financial side of things, which is not my forte. You know, when it comes to the creative stuff, that's why I've started this business, because I can write, I can create content, I can work with businesses, and the communication side of it is what I love. So, numbers are not my thing. I can barely count to 10, so I really needed some help with that, and that was my initial outreach, and she has been absolutely unbelievably incredible with that. I've now got a handle on the number. Before I had no idea really, when I was starting out, what was coming in, what was going out, forecast and all the rest of it. And now obviously I have payroll and things. There's no room now to not know the numbers of the business. But what I wasn't expecting was that there was an element of the kind of confidence building and self-esteem building, and our sessions are kind of part financial and operational audit and part therapy session, really, because that's what I wasn't expecting. Because I, thinking back on it, the decisions I make now and the decisions I've made so far, and weighing up risk versus reward, and just going for some things that before I might have thought, oh well, I can't pull that off, what's the point of even trying to do that, who do you think you are, kind of thing. And now I feel like I'm a bit more confident. So it's a really rare talent to be able to get the spreadsheet out and look at my cash flow, and then switch to kind of being a shoulder to cry on, and really helping me with some of the more confidence building or emotional side of running a business, because it does take an emotional toll. It isn't easy. So that is something that I think must be such a rare talent. So I'm really, really grateful to her for that.
And it can be quite lonely, can't it? Like in terms of a very, very small business. And Dave, who owns Hilton Lord, I find that is an actual personal friend now, as well as a business partner, because the stuff that he helps, even subconsciously helps with, that he doesn't even know are kind of issues or problems just in general conversations, is phenomenal. And again, there's no value that you can put on having that kind of shoulder to lean on, and that guidance, and that person in your corner. I think it is so powerful. It really is.
And picking up on something that Karis said earlier, which is knowing your numbers as well within the business, and having monthly management accounts is so important, because you think you're doing well sometimes, and then actually you didn't realise about this bill and payroll and national insurance, VAT, all those kind of things. And if you don't have a handle on that, you can really lose grasp and focus on the business. We make sure we do that. We haven't been the best. We've missed a few months, but when we do it, we understand why we've made that money or not made as much as we thought. It's very important to do.
And it gives you a stat, like obviously you'd only be kind of selective on in terms of who has that P&L kind of access and knowledge, but it gives your staff accountability as well. If you can then sit down on a monthly basis, I've done it in the past, and just gone, right, okay, so the reason I target you to this is because this is what it costs to have you here in the business. This is what your kind of revenue and activity will mean, and then once that's done, then it's going to reinvest into this, that, and the other, and help us get to the next level. So I think by us understanding it, and understanding your business, then it's only a positive thing, isn't it?
I think part of it that helped me with my business coach on the numbers side was just because I was never good at maths. I'm not a natural numbers person, and so in my head I thought, well, I'm never going to have a grasp on this. I'm never going to be able to. And she's quite straight talking. She just said, basically said that was stupid, and you have to just find a way to make it work for you. You have to, don't shy away from it. Because I was almost just not looking at it, because I was I don't really understand. I'm scared I'm going to look and it's going to be a complete mess. So I think part of it is, just because something's not your forte or your strength, there's a way that you can get the grasp that you need on it, and then get the people who are good at that to deal with the rest. There's no point in sticking your head in the sand. So I think that's something that's really important to bear in mind, is that just because something isn't what your strength is, that there are ways around that. And I think now that's something, now I've got the spreadsheet, I'm not scared to look at it anymore. I can go in and get a handle on what's going on, and then all the rest of it, the professionals take care of that. So I think that's something that can hold a lot of people up, is that kind of fear, because you have to meet it head on. I think cash flow is kind of one of the things that takes any business down more than anything else, is not having that cash flow there. So it's important to stay on top of it. And I think that's kind of an ADHD thing as well. My friends now think that I blame everything I do that's negative on the fact that I have ADHD, but it's kind of well, I'm not going to deal with that. I'll procrastinate and put that off and deal with it another time. But that is not a good idea, is my advice.
But it's never as scary. Like once you do learn it and you get through that process, it's never as scary as what you anticipated it to be anyway. It's just that new exciting, well, maybe not exciting, but it's that new stuff that I'm going to put myself out there because I don't actually do this, but I need to do it. And it's, that's a difficult thing. But once you got over the hurdle, it's actually just part and parcel of your day now.
Yeah.
I think if you're running a business, you have to do that stuff, because if you leave that to someone else, they're running your business. So you kind of need to know it. So you have your coach gives you that confidence to know that you're doing this for a reason. You can do it. There's nothing to actually stop you. So confidence. It's interesting seeing. I mean, I've seen a lot of the people that we talked about Colin, the online print coach. He works with he coaches a lot of people, and he's brought them together into a kind of community in and of themselves, which is an amazing thing. So they kind of self-support each other as part of a sort of bigger group, which is quite a fantastic thing to have achieved. So,
absolutely,
call it collaboration.
Yeah.
And seamlessly, we segue into the next section called collaboration. Well done, you guys. And you know what? It was we all know that it's there in the industry anyway. But at the print show, there was just something that really stuck out to me, and you could see it. It was clear as day. And I love that aspect of it. If I can't help you, then I will know somebody that can. Be it a direct competitor. I'll put a post out the other day talking about Isabella, a personal friend, but also a very, very good kind of close competitor in terms of a recruiter. But if I can't help somebody, or it's not really a fit for me and my business or the workflow or whatever, I will always happily suggest people and help them. Not for a pro quo or anything like that, but just because it's the decent thing to do. Hopefully it comes back around, but for the good of whoever it is that has come to you for help, if I can't help, then definitely we go and find somebody that does. And I guess this is how this podcast started, wasn't it? Because we were all kind of servicing the industry and talking to the very, very similar people, if not the same people. And we were just having kind of monthly or kind of quarterly catch-ups in terms of, how are you finding it, what's going on? And we're like, I actually think this might be quite a good raw podcast, So again, collaboration is absolutely pivotal, because we wouldn't have all the fans that we have without collaboration.
I thought you.
Thank you to our solo subscriber.
But yeah, I do quite a bit with collaborating with the competition. I've sent customers to Georgia Brown at YPS, John Telling at Perfect Colours. If I can't help a customer, I'll pass them over. There's no reason to kind of gatekeep it and keep it all to myself and try and piece together something I don't really do, because I think that's when you start getting into issues. You can't support it. Back to how I like to support my customers, I can't do that properly. So if I can give it to those guys and they get a deal, fantastic. And like you say, Matt, hopefully it comes back the other way. But there's no, you're not strong arming them to make sure it comes back your way. Just hope that they do when time's right and they can't fulfill that customer's needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's different perspectives as well. So I'm just going to relate it back to recruitment, but Isabella might look at something completely different to what I do, or a certain situation. And it's just picking up the phone as well and just going, right, I've got this situation. What experience do you have? Or do you know somebody here? Can you help me with that? And I think it's vital. I really is.
I think it's really well in PR as well, Garrison, if you've seen this. I mean, some agencies that are set up to work for the big corporate multinational agencies, they will also get phone calls from someone smaller that they're not geared up to look after them well. So they may contact a smaller agency that is going to be able to service them better. And having those relationships works really well. It's really difficult in the other direction. I don't know if you thought this, because you do, if you working with a large multinational company, you do feel that you can service it, and depending on how you do it, but ultimately you may feel, no, this is going to pull me in too many different directions. So we've got good relationships with a bigger agency. Let's sort of introduce them in there.
I think that's definitely the case, and I think it again comes back to those relationships. I think I've got good relationships with these other companies, and part of it is knowing what you can do, like you were saying, Andy. Like you know, there's kind of that temptation I've had before in the past where you think, oh, I could probably do this. It's a bit outside of, you know, what I do, or you know, haven't got 100% great vibe on, you know, what their expectations would be, but you know, it's quite a lot of money. I could probably do it, you know, kind of. But then it's counterintuitive, because then you realize that you're either overstretched, or it's a difficult relationship because there hasn't been that management of expectations in terms of what you can deliver and what they want. It might be a bit outside of what you do. So I think that's a bit of a learning curve as well on that, and that's where, you know, some collaboration comes in from my end as well. You know, we work with incredible freelancers, you know, contractors, be it writers when we need writers, if we need specialists, if we need designers, you know, stuff that we can't do. And so it's kind of looking at what you can feasibly pull off, and what's going to be within your abilities. I think that's something that I'm quite a jump in with both feet person naturally, so you kind of have to rein yourself back a bit and think about it a bit more, and what's going to perhaps be, you know, damaging in the long term to certain relationships. So that's all a fun learning curve. I think it's not fun at the time, but you definitely learn a lesson. So
the big decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess until you make a decision in terms of pass it on or do it yourself, you don't know if it's the right or wrong thing to do. But it's where it's adding value again, isn't it? In terms of, I don't think I can service that as much as perhaps I could be able to, and I think it'd probably be best if you go and speak to so-and-so or whatever. But then at the print show, you see, you mentioned it earlier, Karis, in terms of like that full process of technology and software through to printing and then finishing and then collation and like the end product, like the whole collaboration between 5 or 6 different businesses to then get and kind of educating people that don't really see it, how it all goes together. And I that's one thing that I was super impressed with, in terms of there seemed like a lot of people going, okay, well, if you want that, you need to go to this stand. And I know Colin's massive about that as well in his little area with Artworker and VB and stuff like that, as well as other people. But like, it's just being that facilitator with information and playing people in, and putting your name against somebody and vouching for somebody means so much more to your customers as well, because I guess the person that you're vouching for has to deliver as well, because it's on your neck, on your head, be it.
Yeah, it's an industry built on that kind of collaboration. I think that's part of it. You know, it's about collaboration. You need different elements and different businesses to get to these end products, and it's you know, there's so many different elements if it comes to the, you know, the more I've worked with the packaging side, you know, wide format, the more, you know, artistic design side. You know, I've done work with Future Print, which is a lot more, you know, on the technical inkjet side. So there's a huge amount of different types of businesses and different types of processes and different types of people that you get that have to work together to produce what our industry produces. So I think it's kind of inherent, and luckily the people I find are the same, you know, open to it a lot of the time. You know, not always, but a lot. I think by and large, people are open to collaboration and knowledge sharing and helping people out. You know, I certainly wouldn't be where I am without many people from the industry helping me out along the way. So yeah, I think that's one of the fantastic things about it.
And Jack, you're probably the greatest transport for people to kind of voice that collaboration and kind of good stories and how it all comes together. And I guess you're vital in that cog as well. But you'll collaborate with other people as well all the time.
I have to. I think in order to get to any good story, you want to to go down different paths, and why is this a good collaboration? What does each side bring to whatever the collaboration is?
Because there's two sides to every story, Jack.
At least strands. They're off they go. But no, that's
absolutely.
Right. It is about people. It's always about people. The relationships you've made, all the connections they have. It just helps. It helps everything come along. But it's interesting from my point of view. Here we are at sort of the people end of the business, and I wonder, Andy might have a bit of view on this. As you go in more into the manufacturers and the big companies, the people who are making stuff, are they probably less? Are they more or less collaborative because they're in this?
There's a question. It's a hard one. It's harder sometimes to get access to those people. Obviously, we have the account managers and those kind of things, and we get on very, very well with our immediate kind of account managers for the big manufacturers. But yeah, we don't do too much kind of collaboration. There's already things in place, so RIP software goes with the printer, those kind of things. But
it's a bit more rigid, isn't it? The lines are drawn.
Yes. This is the printer, and you go out and find the RIP kind of thing. Sometimes I do work with them, and it's bundled in with that. But there's not really much. I would love to do that, and there's someone will manufacture a new RIP software based on that. It's kind of already, like you say, the line's already set and drawn.
I guess you're the kind of window factor to your customers to a certain extent. Even if they're trying to do something, you can kind of see the bigger picture and maybe point them in the right direction.
That's it. Yeah, we've already pieced it together over numerous years of the experience we've got of that.
Nice. Well, let's kind of humanize it a little bit. That seems to be the word of the kind of hour and the topic. But what about kind of personal motivations, unsung heroes, all that type of stuff? And I guess the reason why we do what we do, we've talked about the point of difference and how we do what we do, but why? Why are we all here where we are? And what's keeping us going? Other than cash flow and understanding your cash flow. Absolutely. It sounds quite deep. But I'll go first, and then you can all follow my stock answers if you like. So obviously it's the lovely Lindsay Hanley and the three children. No, but seriously, it was... that obviously, and creating a life and stuff, but for me, my kids are young, and they're only young once, so to be able to take them to school every day and pick them up a couple of times a week after school, and never miss a sports day or nativity, or just having that freedom to be able to really do what I want on a time wise, but then also the freedom and the autonomy to decide who I work with, when I work, and the roles that it's just that absolute freedom for me is an absolute motivator. I've got no boss, nobody telling me who to work with, what I need to do. It's all kind of self-driven, and that's the biggest motivator. Because I got to the point in my career where, I was in a decent agency, but I just wasn't learning anything. It was just the same thing over and over again. So for me, the obviously Lindsay and the kids, like I say, but the lifestyle and the way that I can kind of choose to operate my business is massive. And also the fact that I have to make it a success. Lindsay works in the business as well, so it's not even a fear of failure, but it's the motivator that we have to make this work, and just have a bloody good time whilst you're doing it. I think that's the most important thing. Yeah,
I definitely relate to that. I think from now that there's a team of us, there's no option for to pack it in or fail, because there's other people's mortgages depend on this. So from a purely it's amazing how motivational that is when it's late at night and I've got a few more bits to do, and I think this is you chose this kind of thing. And I think I really relate to what you were saying, Matt, because I think sometimes knowing what you want to do is knowing what you don't want to do. And I don't want to work for someone else. It doesn't work for me. Fit into the right format for everywhere I've worked. I kind of, I've never been able to see why. And since COVID, I'm happy that kind of the world is sort of going in that direction. As I just didn't see why I had to sit there from 9 to 5. I didn't see why it had to be done in that way. I didn't see why I had to, this is going back. I'm sure it's a lot better now. Maybe in different industries it's not, but that I just remember feeling in some of the first jobs I had, like, oh, I've got a doctor's appointment, I've got to tell them that I want to leave early from the doctor's appointment. So it's just so ridiculous that that would be the case. If people trust people to get their jobs done when they get them done, and there's caveats that we need to be in the office. Sometimes we have meetings. You can't do this job from you can't start at midnight if you want to, because it just doesn't work that way. But I think within reasonable flexibility, and that's something that I've found lacking in the past, and it just does not work for me whatsoever. I'm not a morning person, for example. I'm much better now, but it used to be kind of, why do I have to be here at 8:30 when I'm absolutely useless until about 10 when I've had 3 coffees? So I think that's certainly a motivator for me, is that I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to do things my way. I've got ideas and passion for the way I do things and where I want to take it. And like you were saying, Matt, just even the idea that I could take it somewhere and I don't know exactly where it's going to go, and it's exciting when you work somewhere that there's even no progression, or the progression's so narrow that so narrow that you just can't get excited about it. So I think that's certainly something that motivates me, is just being able to do things on my own terms. But then I was kind of thinking recently that, like, why have I done this again? Because I've been working, from the moment I open my eyes to the moment you close them, and so there are those moments where you kind of think, oh gosh, it would be easier if I just went and got a part-time job in a bakery or something like that. but
dream.
I know that would be the dream, wouldn't it? But
I hope you have a fitness online coach.
But yeah, that's you kind of have to be the right personality and disposition, I think, to run a business as well. So
it's not for everybody at all.
Definitely pros and cons. Yeah.
And I never, up until I got to a point where Hugo was maybe, I think he just turned 1, and I never had the inclination or the aspiration to run my own business. But I just kind of got to the point, I was like asking permission to go to a school nativity, and it's like, what am I doing here? I can go and do. I know that I can go and do this. So I did, basically, and that's it. What about you two?
Well, I was going to say, I think this is a similarity again between recruitment and PR. If you're working in a recruitment agency or a PR agency, you're a senior person in there, you're kind of running a little business within the bigger business. So actually it makes sense to say, well, why am I answering to someone else? I can step out of this and do it myself, which is kind of what I did. And it's for those, and actually you get on better in that sense. When I started in PR, my first clients were people that we pitched for as an agency, but we didn't win, partly because they didn't like the boss. So that was a great way of kicking out, and you didn't have the contractual issues with that as well. But I think once you you've been doing it for a few years now, once you've been doing it for a long time, it becomes second nature, and you end up getting pulled into other things. Now, talking about going off and doing stuff with the kids, I kind of, as you know, got involved with doing this thing called Forest School, which was essentially going off into the woods, and what you see, and this has been an inspiration to me in my sort of later years now, it's seeing people like you two and what you've just described in the form of 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds doing what they want to do. They're not being, I haven't told them what they do. They've looked at it, they've worked it out, they've planned it, they've worked really hard at something that has been all their own making, and they can take it away and be proud of it in a way that you don't get if you're in a classroom environment where you have to do such and such. And seeing that, how that relates into business life is great. And actually, I do that with what I do now. I do essentially what I want to do. I work with the people I want to work with in the way that I want to do it. And you've got to be motivated to keep going, obviously. But I think, you feel proud of what you've done, because actually
it is that pride, isn't it? Pride. That's such a good explanation of it.
Yeah. Now, I'm interested to see what Andy says, because it is different for Andy, because he's running a business that is a different sort of business. It's not an agency within something else. it's something real, not real, but it's something that
Not
you
a fake
explain
job
it.
like
I'm not going to.
ours.
I'll stop there.
Well, I suppose I kind of fell into this business really. I had a couple of jobs. I was a barrister's clerk for a couple of years, and I did really enjoy that. I just don't think it was right for me at the time. Then went to Prudential. Really enjoyed my time there, but just didn't really feel like it was not quite right for me. And my dad had this role coming up because someone was retiring, so I kind of fell into it. Still working for someone really, even though it was my dad. I'm still working for my dad. And I suppose since then, I found that because it's a family business, because my dad was involved in it, I suppose that fear of failure and letting the family and my dad down, it should something happen to the business. So I've always got that kind of motivation of, I don't want to let my parents down, the family down. So I think that's my main motivation really, and the fact that I do like you guys have said, if I want to go and do something, if I want to go and leave a bit earlier to see Arsenal play, leave at 3-4 o'clock on a Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, then I can do that. Why would I? Yeah. But yeah, I can do those things, and if I've got a doctor's appointment, I can go to that, and I don't have to ask anyone. But also, same for my staff. If they want to go to a doctor's appointment, then they go to a doctor's appointment. They don't, yes, I suppose they need to ask, but I've always gone, yeah, go for it. Or if they need to leave a little bit early to go to nativities or something like that, life should come first, really, and the work should be second, I think. So I try to, the stuff that I use myself, I try to impart on my team as well.
I agree, absolutely. And it's almost that accountability that we have then to other people. And Karis, you'll know this in terms of hiring people now as well. And I've done it in the past. Like you pay them first, you make sure that they're okay and their mortgages are covered, and you come into the office because they're there if they're in the office type of thing. But it's that accountability that you have to your staff and how proud you are to have them in the business. Just to show where you've come from, and I totally agree, Andy. Absolutely, you've got to have that human element.
Yeah, otherwise it breeds resentment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that was interesting what Jack was saying as well about the letting people do what they want. I think, that they might not experience in a classroom. It is kind of that taught all the way down, that kind of rigid, way of thinking and way of acting. I'm not trying to be all, hippie about it, but I do think, there's sort of taught how to get through school rather than how to maybe think independently or be outside the norm. And I don't think we necessarily support people with an entrepreneurial mindset when in our schools. Maybe that's changed. It's been a long time since I was in school.
Give over.
But I'm not. But yeah, I do think
veterans.
Maybe. Yeah, exactly, the veterans.
The veterans.
But yeah, I do think we there's certainly more that can be done, I think, in supporting people that think a bit differently, and rather than kind of punishing people who maybe fall outside of what the goal is in terms of just passing exams. And so I do think that's interesting.
I think that's a really valid point, because you get some academic people and not so academic people. I was not an academic, I can't even bloody say the word, academic person. But and I think that you can kind of get that in grown-up life as well, in terms of would you fit into a corporate machine, or are you very much more entrepreneurial and free-spirited? And I think we all are, aren't we?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was not convincing. Everyone's like, yeah, whatever, yeah, shut up. We've been chatting for an hour now. I feel confined in...
Is it long? Is it longer than normal?
Yeah.
Is it me?
Yeah.
Jabbering on?
Well, there is an extra person.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's probably me being a compere. I'm not as ruthless as Jack. Right, let's go.
Let's move on.
Yeah, shut up, we've answered that one. Next. And you all talked over each other. That must be a cold brew now, Andy.
It's water.
Oh, okay. It will be cold then.
I was just trying to get the merch on, basically.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Product
Thanks
placement.
to Trade Print.
Oh, and trade embroidery.
Okay, well,
Are you going
to have to send me one?
Yeah.
Yes, it's in the post.
We needed
Okay,
a better logo.
better be.
Looks all right.
Yes. Right. Well, I think that's it. I think we're done.
It's all right.
Good stuff.
If anybody's still listening, thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and all that other YouTuber stuff that people say. Thanks for listening.
And thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Karis.
Thank you so much, Karis.